All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. It is Monday. Let me drink some coffee and wake up for a second, and yeah, we'll talk about all the stuff going on today. We got the Fed week is here. Markets are pricing in a 25 basis point cut. As I told you guys, we'd probably do. I don't think anything this week is going to change the fact that we'll probably cut 25 basis points. We've had weak labor data come out, easing inflation pressures. Still cautious by a lot of people. A lot of people are still worried about inflation, but people also expect Powell to be somewhat ambiguous because of the inflation pressures that we've seen. In terms of economic data, we actually have the Empire State Manufacturing Survey at 8:30. I don't know how much it's going to move things, but we do have that. Tomorrow we have retail sales. Wednesday we have the Fed decision. Thursday jobless claims and more. And then next week we got GDP and PCE inflation data. So we'll see what we get. Market is up pretty big. Nvidia gapping down some. Let me take a look. So Elon Musk is buying more stocks, so Tesla's kind of going up. Morgan Stanley named Amazon a top pick, citing its push into grocery perishable food markets as a major growth area. E-commerce in the U.S. spending rose 8% year over year in August versus 7% in July. But yeah, look at Amazon. It's a big close at 228. It's at 231s now. This looks like this is most of tech. No, that's up. Nvidia down. Apple green. Amazon green. MU down. AMD down. Netflix is flat. Okay, so this is tech and microchip stocks that are up. Amazon, Google, not microchips. Microchips are actually kind of fading down a little bit. China says Nvidia violated antitrust laws. So China escalated its regulatory campaign against U.S. juggernaut Nvidia this morning. This is an article by Dow Jones Newswires. It says China escalated its regulatory campaign against U.S. chip company Nvidia. There's more pressure on Washington as officials from both countries meet in the latest round of trade negotiations. China's antitrust regulator said today that prelim investigations found Santa Clara, California-based Nvidia violated the country's anti-competitive laws. They didn't say whether it would punish the company, saying only that it would conduct further investigations. China did approve an acquisition by Nvidia of networking gear maker Mellanox Tech in 2020 after the designer of high-end semiconductors agreed to conditions including guaranteeing supplies of its chips to the country. But since 2022, the government has blocked Nvidia and other American chip companies from selling many of their top AI chips to China. Beijing's move came as Secretary Bessent and China's top negotiator, Vice Premier He Lifeng, held a second day of negotiations in Madrid around a range of topics. Shares of Nvidia is down 2.5% today, back up to 175, but down. Nasdaq is green, over 24,000 today. It looks like. Actually, no, we're not really green. We're actually slightly red. We just rebounded a lot, so we're basically flat this morning. Slightly red actually in the Nasdaq now that I'm taking a look at it, but it depends on which level you look. Okay, yeah, I'm showing we're slightly green. Hold on, let me see where we closed. Based off of where we closed last week, we're green. Hiking stocks. Crypto crash. Yeah, Bitcoin, if we take a look at it. Down to 115. It's not doing too bad. I mean, Bitcoin's doing okay still. I mean, it's red on the day, but it's still at 115. It's better than it was last week, a lot of it. Last week, a lot of these were down pretty significantly. Gold up to almost 3,700s. So, yeah, Elon bought more shares of Tesla. Tesla up to 420s right now. Wow, Tesla big. Yeah, Tesla. Yeah, Elon. The news for Tesla is that I'm gonna have to start using a different. Yeah, so Tesla is up basically on that's the news for Nvidia. That's why it's down. China accusing them of anti-competitive practices. Tesla shares are up after Elon Musk bought more than 2.5 million shares. He bought roughly $1 billion worth of company shares, according to Bloomberg and others. Nvidia is down 2.4% after China's antitrust regulator announced the prelim investigation. Supermicro is up 6.6% on the news of broad availability of its AI Blackwell Ultra solutions, which are powered by Nvidia chips. Yeah, Supermicro Semiconductors apparently is up, but actually it's not. It's up over the last few days, though. All right, so let's take out, look at yields here. All right, so if we take a look at 10-year treasuries, if you remember last week, they ended at about 4%, a little bit over 4%. They're slightly higher than they were at the end of last week, if I remember. Like, here's 10-year treasuries, right? 4.072%. So they're a little bit higher than they were last week, to be honest. You can see this is the 12th. This Friday right here. They're actually up to 4.07% for 10-year yields, which, again, yields and interest rates follow each other. If we take a look at the CME Watch Group, at this point in time, there's a 96% chance priced in of the Fed cutting rates 25 basis points. A 96% chance. Only less than a 4% chance that we cut 50 basis points now. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty probable we're not going to cut 50. I said this last week, even before the data came out. Crazy dump this afternoon from the Nvidia news. Are you overseas? Great gold, bro. The Nvidia news is that they're down 2.5% after China's antitrust regulator announced a prelim investigation into the company for alleged anti-competitive practices. Yeah. That's why markets are down. That's why Nvidia's down. Markets are kind of flat. Depends on which price you look at. Here, it has the micro NASDAQ about right here when it opened the day. And that's slightly under where we're at now. So we'd be slightly green if we go by that level. If you take a look at like the SPY and Q, though, they're slightly green based off of where they closed Friday, I guess. Yeah. So we're slightly green relative to where we closed Friday on the NASDAQ and the S&P. Apple's up, Nvidia is down, Amazon is up. So most tech stocks are up aside from microchips, is what I'm seeing. Let me do a poll. I think I've got one yet. We got the Empire State Manufacturing Index in about an hour. I don't know how much it's going to move things, but... All right, so we're going to ask, what do you think the FOMC should do on Wednesday? 25 basis point cut, 50 basis point cut, pause. Something else. Vote on that poll. Let me know what you guys think. That poll is now live. Yeah, I mean, if you look at this, it probably just has to do with, like, China wants to build their own chips, right? This is something that's, I think, is very obvious. China wants to build their own chips. China and the US are kind of rivals in that regard. And so China's going to say whatever they got to say about the US to help them pull past the US in chip making, including what they said this morning, right? And so you got to think about it in that regard, like, you know, it's all about the it's all about how it looks. FOMC is Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when they're going to announce the decision, and then at 2:30 they're going to do the press conference with Powell. Right, that's exactly what it is, Michelle. They're strategically doing this. Again, it's pretty obvious. Again, hold on. TKO announces a 1 billion share repurchase program. They announced that about 15 minutes ago. The BIS says elevated valuations of risky assets leave them vulnerable. Any significant portfolio shift away from the U.S. assets is likely to be gradual. Elevated asset price levels sit oddly with concerns about fiscal sustainability. We also earlier this morning had White House trade advisor Navarro say that India is coming to the table on trade. Yeah. JP Morgan had some numbers come out. August credit card delinquencies came in at 0.83%. Previous was 0.86%, and credit card charge-off rate was 1.78, according to an SEC filing. All right, guys, so I kind of want to buy this dip. I don't want to buy this dip, but I'm not sure. I mean, if Amazon and all these other tech stocks start to kind of give it back this morning, I got to be careful. I also see 2 minutes ago, Morgan Stanley said the Fed's pace on cuts is key for markets. They see equity markets hinge on weak U.S. job data and whether the Fed cuts rates quickly enough. Traders expect 25 basis point cut this week, but lingering inflation may slow the Fed's response. The bank sees short-term consolidation in stocks, but remains bullish long-term, targeting the S&P at 7,200 by mid-2026 next year on strong earnings. They favor small caps and reflation. I think deflation plays ahead while dip buying into the year end, or reflation plays. Or reflation, I guess is what they meant. But JP Morgan also said stocks may stall on Fed cuts. They warn U.S. stocks could cool if the Fed restarts rate cuts this week. Markets are near record highs despite weak labor data, but history shows equities often pause after easing begins. The bank stays bullish. So Morgan Stanley basically is optimistic for the next year or two. Morgan Stanley is basically optimistic for the next year. JP Morgan is worried stocks are going to slow from rate cuts. Also, we have the ECB member Schnabel saying sentiment towards the euro area is improving and easing financial conditions. But again, one of the big news today is Tesla is up big after Elon bought almost $1 billion worth of shares. Bad news for BYD and Tesla news kind of leading that perfect storm. Yeah. I can't trade today as my house is having some renovations. Yeah. All right, so we did a poll. What do you think the FOMC should do on Wednesday? 57% think 25 cut, 32% think 50, 7% think pause, 4% think something else. Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Don't fight the Fed. Hey, thanks, man. Bitcoin's down a little bit. I don't think it's down any major amount. How long do you think Tesla will run up today? Tesla's kind of elevated right now, man. It's up to 430s. Big percentage increase in pre-market. I don't know if it's going to keep running or correct some as we get closer to the bell. I think either one of those things is possible. You know. All right, so ECB Schnabel is saying a couple different things. He said upside risk to inflation dominate, pass through from stronger euros to be limited domestic demand to counteract falling exports. Interest rates are in a good place. In terms of gold prices, they're essentially unchanged this morning. Sideways pattern started last week into the FOMC decision has continued. With the rate decision on Wednesday, that's helping it be like kind of sideways. Honestly, I might short in futures. Here's micro gold. I might actually short up here. I just don't think I wanted to short. I might be a little late to the party though. Here, we'll take one contract here, short. Maybe add a little bit to it in micro gold. It's the FOMC week, guys. I'm gonna add one to it. And we'll see what we get. I just want to see if we come back down a little bit. All right, so Tesla's up after again Elon bought $1 billion stake. They're up about 8% in pre-market. Elon apparently bought 2.57 million shares worth almost $1 billion on the 12th, which was Friday at 372 to 397 each. Stock is now near 420s. Definitely pump it up. Like I'm trying to take a longer term gold short here, see if gold eases back down a little bit into pre-market, but I think it's got to be a little bit longer term. ECB Schnabel says economic growth is expected is to exceed potential. All right, let me take a look. All right, so remember, it's Monday. Today we got the New York Empire State Manufacturing Index for September showing up at 8:30. It's expected at 4.3%, 4.3%. I don't know how much this is going to move things. We'll have to see. I know Joe Burrow got injured. Honestly, bro, the Saints are not good. Again, the Bengals are okay. LSU won, beat Florida State. That's good. Or no, they didn't beat Florida State. They beat Florida. Let me see. Yeah, they beat Florida, which is good. You know, I don't know how good we did. They Weeks got a targeting call, but we still won, so that's good. Offense needs to do some better work, though, I think. Yeah, I mean, I could set a timer until the Empire State Manufacturing data. All right, so former New York Fed President Dudley says 25 basis point rate cut is baked in. Would be surprised if Fed did anything different. Well, yeah, me too. All right, so we're in gold short, very small position though. I'm just basically betting on gold chop. At least the Cowboys beat the Giants. Giants always suck, bro. Sorry. It's true. Look at Tesla up big. I heard the 25 basis point cut might turn market direction. It's possible. They lost. Look, one thing with the NFL is that any game might show up and win any specific game, or any team might show up and win any specific game. You know, it's not as consistent as like college, I would say, in terms of wins for good teams. But Giants are 0-2 on the year. Silver. Wednesday we have the FOMC decision. But Wednesday we got the FOMC decision. Fed's expected to cut rates 25 basis points. I doubt they're going to do anything else. It's 96% priced in markets. I just doubt they're going to do anything else. You know, I doubt the Fed is going to, do 50. I think if they did 50, we might have a worse reaction, honestly, just because 50 would show panic inducement kind of thing. Not necessarily. A lot of people think we should cut 50. We did a poll this morning, and again, 26% of you guys think that we should cut 50. But I don't think we're going to, and I think if we did, it might induce more panic. I didn't watch the second half of the Bengals game either. When I turned it off, the Bengals were actually losing. I got frustrated. The Saints were losing when I watched it. The Bengals were losing, and I was like, and I just turned it off. And then I checked the scores later. Burrow apparently hurt his big toe or something. Anyways, yeah, I don't think we're going to do 50, though, Ryan. Were you the one that took the bet on 50 basis points? It was like a 10-1 odds or something like that. Fed should just gradually cut 25 would make sense. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you fear, right? I mean, do you guys fear inflation or more recession? I did this poll a couple different times, but it depends on what you fear. If you fear inflation, slower easing makes sense. If you fear economic weakness, and I think some of the labor data shows we're trending towards economic weakness, I think next week will be interesting because next week we have PCE inflation, which is the Fed's preferred inflation metric, followed, and then before that we have GDP data, quarter 2 GDP, I'm pretty sure. Let me make sure. Yeah, we get the third estimate for quarter 2. Last time it came in at 3.3%, and so a lot of people are arguing for a recession, and they're saying, oh, we are in a recession. But if quarter 2 is 3.3%, we're not in a recession. And so I think next week will be interesting based off of that data coming out. We got the Fed decision this week. That's interesting. Last week we had a lot of stuff drop. All right, so my position here is slightly red. Again, I'm gonna let it push up some and just sit. And if it gets up to like over, I think 83, I'll probably cut it up here. We're down like a very small amount. I'm not gonna add to it though. Rate cut decision is today. No, rate cut decision is on Wednesday. FOMC decision was on Wednesday. What we do have today is we have Empire State Manufacturing Index. I'll put the data up on screen actually. Yeah, the New York Empire State Manufacturing Index today is expected at 4.5. Previous of, what was it previously? 11.9. Look at Tesla though, man. Tesla almost up to 430s right now in pre-market, making moves. If they were worried about inflation, they'd be raising interest rates right now. They've abandoned fighting inflation at this point. Yeah, but I think at this point you kind of have to, right? Like inflation's a priority, but if inflation's 3% or under 3% and the labor market shows really weak signs, what's the other option? You know, say, oh, let's not do anything, and then we enter a recession, and then people are mad about that, right? Like, what you learn very quickly in economics is that it's really hard to make everybody happy. You know, on one end, people that fear inflation, they're not going to want stimulus, they're not going to want easing, they're not going to want low interest rates, they're going to want high interest rates, and you know, they're going to want maintaining rates at restrictive levels. What a lot of people would argue we're in now. And then on the other end of that, if people start losing jobs and payrolls come in weak and we start trending towards a recession, then people are going to fear that too. And so what you learn is like, you can't make everybody happy. I know the Fed's target is a dual mandate, which is like low inflation and a strong labor market. But that's kind of, they want their cake and eat it too kind of thing. And so they have to understand somebody's going to be unhappy regardless of the scenario. Either somebody's going to be unhappy because of inflation or somebody's going to be unhappy because of weak labor. Now, I'm not saying we never get situations where we have good both, but it's certainly not as often. Yeah, I'm looking at gold right here. I'm going to switch. While we're looking at gold on the main chart, I'm going to switch to the NASDAQ here on the right. And again, we did have former New York Fed President Dudley say 25 basis point cut is baked in. Would be surprised if the Fed did anything different. Yeah, Elon buying $1 billion worth of Tesla shares in markets this morning, boosting Tesla shares up to $430 a share today. Cautiously cut makes sense. Yeah, we could cautiously cut. Like, we could, if you're really worried about mortgage rates. I've heard these theses, a lot of different potential outcome predictions from people. What I hear is that people are worried about mortgage rates going down. And let me know if you guys agree with this, right? Like, I've heard whoa, hey, a big dip in gold here. Apple, Bank of America says iPhone 17 ship times are longer than last year. Bank of America says iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max ship dates are more extended than the iPhone 16 at the same pre-order stage, with the longest delays. With the longest delay since iPhone 11, analyst William Z. Mohan keeps a buy rating on Apple with a $270 price target just came in. I don't know if this is influencing my gold trade, but gold just dipped. Big red candle. One of the largest candles we've seen in a minute here for gold this morning. Now we're slightly green in our position. I want to see if it'll break down more. Again, I'm trying to hold this longer term. What was I saying before this? I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, so one of the theses I've heard recently is that by lowering mortgage rates, what's going to happen? Some people think, and let me know if you agree with this. I think it's possible, but I don't know. Generally, when rates go down, home prices go up. But a lot of people think home prices are going to decrease if rates go down. And their argument is that when people are stuck in their mortgages right now, because to refinance it's going to cost 6 or 7%. To get another mortgage it's going to cost 6 or 7%. And so people don't want to sell their homes right now because mortgage rates are too high, right? And they're probably locked in. If they're holding since prior to mortgage rates going up, then they don't want to sell their home and then have to get another mortgage on another home with twice the interest rate. And so they're waiting for mortgage rates to decrease, sell, and so that then when mortgage rates do start to go down, we're going to see much more inventory on the market. And when that happens, there's going to be an abundance of properties on the market, and we're going to start to see home prices fall down quickly. They think we're going to, I've heard somebody say that they think we're going to get a 20% correction in home prices. And maybe some people would argue that's necessary right now. I don't know. Yeah, the only reason I'm shorting gold right now, chat, is because we're 2 days before the FOMC decision. And so one of the potential outcomes is that gold moves sideways leading into it. You know. But also think of all the renters that will consider buying at 3%. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit of both. But you got to think, like, when was the last time mortgage rates were below 4? It was 2020 and 2021. Oh, wait, the last time 30-year mortgage rates were below 4% was 2019. It remained above 4% for almost all of 2019, early 2020, and then during 2021 and 2020, they dropped below 3%. Since 2021, though, there have been high by October of 2023, they were 8%. All right, I'm going to cover just a piece of this so I can sit on it a little bit longer if I could actually get out here. All right, so yeah, we covered just a piece of this. And that way I can just sit on this longer term here and not really worry too much if it goes up against me. What Powell needs to say to be bullish, 25 points in QE. I don't know if it's going to be bullish regardless. I think they're going to have to go to zero interest rate and restart quantitative easing. For what? I'm starting to see more houses around me up for sale. Actually, our neighbors, 2 houses down the street, just put theirs on market. We were kind of shocked. Yeah, they might just be throwing it up there to see what they can get. All right, guys. So yeah, it's the Fed week, the big week. Um, HSBC sees a big oil surplus from Q4 onwards. 1.7 million barrels in Q4, 2.4 million barrels in 26. Sees downside risks in 2026. 65 barrels Brent assumption if stock builds materialize in the West. I haven't looked at oil as much. But oil is slightly up today. Not much, but it's up a little bit. Yeah, last week we had Michigan consumer sentiment show up weaker than expected at 55.4 versus 58.2 and previous of 58.2. 1 year inflation expectations by Mitch were 4.8%. Previous was 4.8. 5 years were elevated though at 3.9 versus 3.5 last time. Again, Nvidia's down after China is accusing them essentially of anti-competitive practices. And so yeah, we're seeing Nvidia and other microchip stocks follow that sympathy downward here. All right, guys. Oil 63s. Bitcoin, again, down a little bit today, but still at about 115s right now. Powell needs to raise rates. Why do you think he needs to raise rates? Explain your argument here. %, chance of a 25 basis point cut. Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to cut 25. I don't think we're going to do outside. I've been saying this for, if you guys remember, people were talking to me last week about why we might potentially cut 50, you know. And again, I'm not against them. We can all agree to disagree. But if you guys remember, way before any of this data yet last week, anything, I told you guys we'd probably cut 25. I think one thing that Powell is balanced. He tries to be at least. And so I don't think he's going to cut 50 out the gate. I just don't think he's going to do that. He might, and maybe I'll eat my words. It's possible. But I don't think he's gonna do 50. I think yeah, I just don't think he's gonna do that. Yeah, but inflation's 3%, Z. I don't think it's rage bait. I think some people genuinely think we shouldn't cut. They may do 100. You think they're gonna do 100 on Wednesday, Todd? Genuinely? All right, so 11 borrowers are reportedly looking to sell debt in the U.S. high-grade primary market, according to Bloomberg, citing a survey. Notes of chatter of a sizable trade expected either today or tomorrow. They might cut 500 basis points next week, and you know, Jerome Powell might get elected the King of England. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It doesn't mean it's probable to happen. You know, I might win the lottery 8 days in a row. You know, I might. You know, Inflation's always a little bit over what they say it is anyway. I mean, it depends on which inflation we're looking at, though. Everyone with knowledge of economy knows the cut is the worst thing to do right now. The Plaid, explain why. I don't know. I think we probably could have cut last meeting. I know there's risk to inflation, but a 25 basis point cut shouldn't spike inflation in any meaningful way. It just shouldn't. If we start to do actual easing, that's not good. I think if we, and so I don't think a 25 basis point cut's really going to spike inflation in any meaningful way. And I think if we approach it cautiously with rate cuts, balanced and slow, I think that's fine. All right, this song, I can't really deal with it. Yeah, I mean, the labor market's weak. I mean, we're seeing signs of a weak labor market too, and this is why I think we probably could have cut jobs, or I'm sorry, I think we probably could have cut rates last meeting 6 weeks ago. Unfortunately, we didn't, and now we're in a period where we're seeing big signs of weakness in the labor market. The benchmark revision, the payroll revisions, the payroll numbers themselves, they've all been revised down significantly, and it's trending towards weakness in the labor market. We'll see what it starts to do to unemployment as an example, or to GDP even. But like, one thing you got to understand about Q2 GDP next week is that some of the revisions for May and June, and that's Q2, right? So when payrolls got revised not that long ago for May and June, that's Q2 GDP, right? That drops next week on Thursday. And so we're going to see if those revisions to payrolls are going to affect GDP and start bringing that GDP down next week. This is the third and final revision to GDP data for Q2. After this, we're going to start looking at Q3. But yeah, we're going to have to see if some of those big revisions to May and June are going to drag GDP for Q2 down. Powell's excuse for not cutting rates was always the job market. Now he has no excuse not to cut. Yeah, no, I agree. I think so too. I think it's been ambiguous up until this point, but now we're seeing weakness in the labor market. Probably time to cut. The reason for what? Slow inflation? Yeah, I mean, we want to slow inflation, of course, right? And at this point, we're pausing rates at moderately, according to the Fed, at moderately restrictive levels. But again, we'll see what that looks like. All right, so the president just tweeted here. I think this was just recently. Okay, yeah, the president tweeted 1 minute ago. I'm honestly not necessarily opposed to this. But my trade's doing pretty well here. That's nice. I'm gonna let this break. Okay. No, I'm gonna cut it right here. I think that's fine. I'll take that. But no, what the president just tweeted, he said, quote, "Subject to SEC approval, companies and corporations should no longer be forced to report on a quarterly basis, quarterly reporting, but rather to report on a 6-month basis. This will save money and allow managers to focus on properly running their companies." Did you ever hear the statement that China has a 50 to 100 year view on management of a company, whereas we run our companies on a quarterly basis? Not good. Well, I mean, I'm kind of torn with this. I believe in free markets. And so he's talking about public companies here. This is what he's talking about. I'm not necessarily against that either. I think it's okay if they report, I think there's way too much red tape for businesses. As a small business, as somebody that runs a couple different small businesses, to be honest, I There's so much red tape and nonsense here, you know. All right, now that we're out of our gold short, I'm gonna put up Nasdaq again. Here's the NQ. Nasdaq's pretty flat here. Here's gold. Gold did end up coming back down as I thought it would. Yeah, Nvidia getting probed for antitrust stuff. Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy buys 525 Bitcoin worth $60.4 million. Nvidia, I don't know if it's Nvidia loses China. China just approved them of anti-competitive practices this morning. So, if you take a look at Nvidia, this is what's affecting them. All right, so we have European Union approval makes Novo oral drug the first and only oral GLP-1 RA to reduce cardiovascular death, heart attack, and stroke. President 60 minutes ago commented on the NFL here. He said the NFL has got to get rid of the ridiculous looking new kickoff rule. How can they make such a big sweeping change so easily and quickly? It's at least as dangerous as the normal kickoff and looks ridiculous. The ball is moving and the players are not. The exact opposite of what football is about. Who comes up with these ideas? Fortunately, college football will remain the same. I'm not really against him on football either. I agree with the football news. Not saying I agree with the president on a lot of stuff, but I agree with his take on football. At the same time, though, CTE is an issue, you know. Tesla's up because Elon bought $1 billion worth of Tesla shares. No, I didn't see that. Hold on, let me open that up here. Alright, look at the Nasdaq spike up a little bit here. Should have held my gold position short, but it's okay. AMD's pushing up. Google's pushing up. Let's see what else is moving the Nasdaq up. Nasdaq just broke highs of the day. I think highs of the no, not quite highs of the day. The Nasdaq's ripping up here. I don't really see anything that's moving like this. Maybe AMD. AMD's part of the Nasdaq, I think. Yeah, okay. Could be AMD moving up. Yeah, and I'm somebody that covers earnings a lot, you know. I don't know if the SEC is going to approve this, though, to be honest, regarding the... uh, regarding the move from earnings. Alright, so we're starting to get a dip back down here. AMD ripping up some. Nvidia's still red on the day. It covered some of the gap, but still down. Yeah, Tesla up to 430s this morning. He's at 425s now. Alright guys, gold's still falling down, Nasdaq's still pushing up. Bitcoin is totally a scam. Eh. What are you guys buying today? Anything that looks good? What are you guys looking at? We're basically flat on our portfolio today. If we get 10% sell-off in the markets. Yeah, that's probably true. But again, I think the markets will probably be, it's the FOMC week, right? So just like our trade on gold earlier, I think the market's probably going to be flat today. Maybe big range, but flat nonetheless, like big range, but sideways. Just because we got the FOMC decision this week. We got Empire State Manufacturing. I completely forgot about this today. Hold on, let me title the stream. I don't know how much this is going to move, but yeah, so we got Empire State Manufacturing data. Again, I don't know how much this is going to move things, but we're going to cover it nonetheless. All right, guys, so we got the Empire State Manufacturing Index. This drops in about 20 minutes or so, 20 minutes. Yeah, I don't know if this affected the market. He's mostly talking about quarterly reporting. So essentially, the president wants to get rid of quarterly reporting and only do reports for companies every half of a year. All in Tesla shorts? I'm good on that, man. How do you feel selling United Health too early? I'm not really that worried about it. I'm always going to sell it somewhat too early. You know, like I have long-term positions and stuff, but I also do swing trades. And I think as a swing trade, it was perfect. I got in at like 240, sold it at like 3 something within like a couple weeks and got out. And so whether it continues pushing up, it doesn't matter. I'm always going to get out too early and stuff. Swing trades, because long term these things are going to go up regardless. And so yeah, I think it was a great trade, to be honest. I think I got in at a perfect time. I sold whenever, you know, there's a lot of volatility going on in markets. I think it was fine. Yeah, how do you feel having a completely winning swing trade? I feel great about it, man. I made a really large percentage in about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks maybe. So But again, I get exposure to United Health long term anyway. So like, I think Warren Buffett helped me a lot. I think I bought it, and then a week later, Warren Buffett announced he was buying it, or Burke announced they were buying it. I think that benefited me a lot. Rivian. I like Rivian cars. I think in the end, it's going to be hard for them to compete with that without full self-driving. I think people that want EVs are going to want cars that drive themselves. And I think while Rivian has some aspects of that, it's definitely not as much as Tesla. And I think that's what they need to do to grow and evolve their brand. They need to start figuring that out. Yeah. Bought a bag of Tesla a month ago. I'm sure you're doing great on that. Alright guys, we got Empire State Manufacturing data going live in about 17 minutes. I don't know how much this is going to move things. We'll see. Let me put it in live chat. Alright, so the publisher of Rolling Stone magazine says that AI summaries are stealing traffic. Well, of course they are, brother. That's how it goes. That's what AI is going to do. AI scrape summaries that pop up when using search functions are stealing traffic and hurting business, according to Penske Media Corp. In a lawsuit, they said more than 20 online brands, Rolling Stone, Variety, Deadline. Lawsuit late Friday against Google. Yeah, I mean, look, man. That's how it's going to go. AI is going to summarize a lot of things. Like, in general, reading is going to be wildly different in the future because of AI. Right, writers, authors, are going to be wildly affected by AI, of course. This is very self-evident. It's been obvious for 3 years, bro. You know? Honestly, if I was some of these companies, I would have sold 3 years ago, 4 years ago, as soon as you figure out AI is going to start summarizing things. Like, one of the things I've shown here is that you can use AI. One of the ways I've used it to digest information here. Right? Like, look, I'll show you guys how I use it. What's a good book, guys? What's your favorite book out there? Let me show you guys. What's your favorite book? What's your favorite book, guys? Reasonable book. Give me a non-fiction book about markets. Sorry, I should have asked, what's your favorite book? We're going to get a lot of fiction. Give me your favorite non-fiction book. Yeah, see, Remnants of a Stock Operator. All right, like, look. Now, we take this book, and this is what I use AI for. ChatGPT is pretty good about this. And watch, this is what I tell it. Okay. But, like, look at this. Okay, so look, we're here. Let me make this sizable for your screen here. Okay, this is what I tell it. I want you to summarize. Or watch here. First, I tell it, list every chapter of the book, Reminiscence of the Stock Operator, or whatever. Okay. So here's that list of the chapters. Let me make sure this is correct. Sorry, I gotta make sure this is correct. Is this chapter's correct? Let me make sure. Okay, look at the NASDAQ fall here. Hold on, I'll go back to this. Let me make sure. Okay, yeah, so Chat GPT. All right, look at this drop. Hold on, I'm trying to check the markets here. Okay, so the President Trump said, I will be speaking to President Xi on Friday. That's the Chinese president. He said the China-US meeting has gone very well. The US-China meeting will be concluding shortly. All right, here, look, I'm gonna take a different book. Look, we're gonna do Mark Douglas, Trading in the Zone. Okay. Okay, so look, here's Mark Douglas, Trading in the Zone. I'm just gonna post this. All right. And then I'm gonna tell AI here. So look, here's the chapters, and now I tell AI, summarize each and every one of these chapters in about 300 words. Make sure to get the big picture logic of each chapter in an understandable way. Okay? And this is why you don't have to read full books on nonfiction anymore. And this is how AI is going to replace nonfiction. And honestly, ChatGPT is not even the better one. I would say Gemini is better than ChatGPT, especially in terms of stuff like this. But it breaks down every chapter. If you want larger than that, $500 words each. You know? And you can just digest everything the book has to say in 10 or 15 minutes, really. Now, are you going to get the big picture or the small time stuff? No, but you get the big picture of everything going on. And in that context, AI is absolutely going to replace writers, authors, books. This is very self-evident. This is obvious. It won't replace nonfiction books. Yes, it will. People aren't going to write them. Ty, you have to understand it like this. Right now, there's a book market. Writers can monetize their books, earn royalties from their books. That dynamic will still be there. People will still chase those royalties from books, but instead of writing the books themselves, guess what's going to happen? Instead of writing the books themselves, instead they're going to use AI to write the books, and then they're going to publish those books instead. And so what we're going to get, instead of human written authored books, we're going to get AI written and authored books moving forward. And people are still going to profit from them, but writing them yourself is going to fade more and more into obscurity the more time goes on. I think this is pretty clear at this point. Not all books, I think, but a lot of them. What happens to the market if the Fed ups rates on Wednesday? That's never going to freaking happen, brother. That's never going to happen, dude. Fed's not going to raise rates on Wednesday. Okay, so the president also said something new here. Let's see what he said. Yeah, so the president said the big trade meeting in Europe between the US and China has gone very well. The deal was also reached on a certain company that young people in our country very much wanted to save. They will be very happy. I'll be speaking to President Xi on Friday. The relationship remains strong one. What company do you think he's talking about? Young people in our country very much wanted to save. Is this GameStop? Young people in this country. Give me your speculations about what country he could be, or company he could be talking about. Young company. Young people. What could he be talking about here? Oh, TikTok. Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Sorry, I should have known. Of course, that's what he's talking about. I was hoping it might be GameStop. I was thinking maybe I should buy GameStop, but no, he's talking about TikTok 100%. Nvidia's starting to rise up too on this news that him and the president. No, it's talk. 100% it's talk. The news with them, it's relevant to China. It's a Chinese company. There have been rumors and fears of, you know, red tape regarding TikTok and all that stuff, like the company having to get sold and a lot of stuff, and so that's what he's referencing actually, 100%. All right, we got the Empire State Manufacturing data, 7 minutes here. NASDAQ up to close to highs of the day, right? Yeah, this highs of the day on the NASDAQ. New high of the day is 164. I'm going to start drawing some levels here. I haven't traded the NASDAQ itself. I've traded gold this morning. I should have held that gold short too. Here's 150. Oh, watch that. NASDAQ still pumping up, breaking highs here. What optimism around U.S.-China relations, it looks like. Nobody said anything about Nvidia. Nvidia's down today. The reason the market's pumping up right now, I think, unless I'm mistaken here, but the reason Nvidia's pumping up right now is because the president basically put out stuff. So the reason Nvidia was down this morning was because China accused Nvidia of anti-competitive practices this morning. Nvidia was down a couple percent from this news specifically. And so now that the president is coming out saying that there is optimism in the relationship with China and that he's going to speak to the Chinese president Xi, and that, you know, they've got a deals announced for TikTok and all this different stuff, I think because Nvidia is a U.S. company and because the president is now saying that them and China might be working together, now there's more optimism regarding the Nvidia stock because of that, regarding chip sales to China. And so this is now driving Nvidia higher this morning, is probably what's going on. That's what I'm assuming is going on. But again, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going on here. Yeah, and you can see Nvidia bounce back, and it's kind of dragging with gold here. Yeah, we saw that earlier lag. What time Wednesday? Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, they're going to announce the rate decision, and then at 2:30 they're going to do the accompanying press conference for it. All right, guys, we got 4 minutes left. Four minutes left. Yeah, so China said Nvidia violated antitrust law. That's essentially what happened. All right, now we're dipping down here. Correcting some from this. I think we got Empire State data coming out in about 3 minutes. And again, the president implied that a TikTok deal was reached with China and is going to speak to Z on Friday, according to CNBC. And look at that bounce, guys. Listen, I'm not going to say my level was the top 3 greatest bounce level of all time right here. I'm not going to say this was the greatest bounce level ever. Maybe it's not. Look at it, start to test it. I don't like the retest of it. Once we bounced there originally and then we come, like, I don't like the retest of it here. Alright guys, 3 minutes. Yeah, you gotta look at Tesla too. Tesla's volatile this morning. Up to 426. Bouncing right at 425. Nvidia started to come back. Starting to pull back some. But the NASDAQ broke all-time highs. Yeah, I don't know how much this data is going to really influence things. I don't know. We'll see. We're going to cover it like we do. Expected at 4.3. Last time was 11.9 for the Empire State data. Two minutes. Hit the live button next to the play button. Make sure you're fully caught up on stream. Again, I don't know if this is going to move markets in a big way. I really don't. So we bounced originally all the way up to 61, almost 62 here, but now we finally broke over 159, this level here. I'm looking at 150s down here. This level right here could also play a factor, but I don't know. Oracle still running? Yeah, Oracle's been up big. All right, guys, we got a minute and a half here. Oh, this is Oracle. Yeah, look at Oracle rip. I don't know. Oracle's not really trending with markets, though. Look at Oracle up to 298 again. Oracle fell down a lot, though. It hit 350 and basically fell all the way back down. Powell speaking Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Alright guys, we got less than a minute here, less than a minute. Again, I don't know how much the Empire State data is going to really move things, but we're going to cover it. Alright, here we go. 30 seconds. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it on 2x speed if you want. But here we go. 20 seconds. We got retail sales data tomorrow too. That might move things, so be here at 8:30 especially. But again, here's the data coming out in 10 seconds. Again, hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. You'll catch up. All right, here's the data in 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, and here we go. Oh man, my timer was exactly all right. Negative 8.7. Negative 8.7 versus 4.3. Negative 8.7 versus 4.3. Way weaker than expected data here. Yeah, negative 8.7, forecast 4.3, previous 11.9. This is dragging the market back down. This was weaker than expected. Negative 8.7. They expected a positive 4.3. Last time should have been 11.9. But definitely weaker than expected here. There's also rumors that Oracle might be the potential buyer of TikTok. But again, Empire State data is dragging the market down. I'll put this data up on screen, but man, this is not good. This is bad data. I didn't even know if it would move markets, but apparently it is. Here's the data on screen right here. Nasdaq's falling down on this report. There we go. Oracle's still pushing up on potential buyout of TikTok rumors. Eesh. All right, so we had a second ago we had the U.S. government official news come out that said the U.S. government official says U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent is to be speaking shortly after the meeting with Chinese delegation in Madrid after U.S.-China talks have ended. But the Empire State manufacturing data was weak. All right, we're starting to flush down now. We're at 24,149. Again, I thought we'd be choppy, and we are choppy so far. Looking at our poll numbers, 59% think a 25 basis point cuts on the table next week, or on Wednesday. 29% think we should do 50. 8% think pause. 4% think something else. Give me a follow at Beginner Trades, BEGINNERTRADES on X. Great way to help support the channel. We cover a lot of this breaking news as soon as it happens as well. So if you can't tune in, you can watch us on X. We appreciate it. Also, guys, you want to help support the channel, number one, subscribe. We cover every single major economic event for the most part. No PDT rule in futures. We day trade that live every day. We cover everything for free. We don't sell a course, don't sell a service ourselves. We only have one sponsor. We tell you guys we're pretty biased. I don't even claim to be a good trader. And we cover everything as soon as it happens. And so if you want a place where you can watch all the stuff come out as soon as it happens, 8:30, 10 a.m., whenever it drops, the Fed meeting, we're going to stream that decision live at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. And so you can kind of stay up to date with what's going on in markets. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. You know you want to. If we don't cut on Wednesday, market's going to freak out. If we don't cut Wednesday, market's freaking out. Honestly, Farmer, I didn't even know that about Bessent. I just Googled it. I thought you were joking. That's okay. Let him live his life, man. You know, I'm not mad at that. But I didn't even know that. I was oblivious to that. No cut on Wednesday. Yeah, I think if we don't cut Wednesday, we might sell off. I mean, I think the market might freak out. You never know, but we'll see. Again, I don't really follow politics that much. I really don't. Oracle at almost $300 a share. Look at this. I mean, it was at $350 or last week, but this Tesla push shows, well, it's Elon buying in more of the company. Shows more optimism around the company if the CEO wants to buy $1 billion worth of shares, is what it is. That usually pushes companies up anytime insiders buy the company. As is, like, a while back, we had news that Jensen sold some of his shares of NVIDIA, and guess what NVIDIA did? It went down a little bit that day, right? So it's not outside the realm of normal to see a stock push up when the CEO buys more shares of it and is more optimistic about it. You know, that's kind of normal price action, I would say. I don't think that's manipulation of the century, you know. I think that's pretty markets 101. Is gold exhausted? I think short-term gold's interesting because I think no matter what happens, it's going to cause. We have here's like gold, and again, I'm going to preface this with I'm not an investment professional, as all the disclaimers on the screen say. Nothing here is financial advice. We're not market professionals. Sometimes I have no idea what I'm talking about. Some of you guys would probably agree. Not an investment professional. Don't copy me. If you want to check out Top Step, great way to help support the channel. No PDT in futures. Top Step gives you a 50K demo, 100K demo, 150K demo, depending on which package you choose. Allows you to get exposure to markets for much cheaper than you would having to fund your own account, thousands of dollars. And you're probably going to lose your first couple accounts. And so it makes no sense to fund your own account, in my opinion, in the beginning, especially because most day traders lose. And that's true including here, but here you're risking $50 for the base one instead of thousands on your normal account. If you pass the test, you get a 50K funded account, 90% split, no PDT rule in futures, gets you around the PDT rule. You can day trade the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, gold, commodities, very similar patterns to day trading stocks. So on Top Step X, you get zero commission. And they also recently debuted their back to funding option, which allows you to reset your funded account essentially. You know, their new dashboard allows you to get a reset bank. All kind of cool stuff. And so a great way to learn. Most day traders lose. They're a sponsor of mine. I am biased because I get paid by them, but they're genuinely useful for traders. And if you want to check them out, I'll put the link up. I'll pin it to the top of the chat. I appreciate the love. And yeah, here's the link right here. Check it out. With that said, though, regarding gold, I think there's a lot of indecision because of potential stagflation signs. Right. And so I think either way, people might hedge with gold based off of this indecision, based off of this apprehensiveness. I think people might hedge with gold. Now, I think leading into the FOMC decision, we might have chop. And that's what I said today. And we since then, I made a short up here in gold. And you can kind of see gold has come all the way back down. And then I covered it somewhere around here. I don't know exactly where I covered it. But I think leading into the FOMC, the thesis is choppy. Maybe we'll see some runs, but I think regardless of what we do, gold might, you know, be interesting. Just based off of stagflation thesis. Bitcoin is interesting. Bitcoin wants easing, and I think to a certain extent we're gonna, at the very least, bring rates down some on Wednesday. I don't think it might be enough to please crypto people though, and I think I like Bitcoin long term. Short term, I have no idea what it's gonna do, but long term, I think it's interesting. Hey, thank you, Gabriel. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you, sir. But yeah, long term, I like Bitcoin. Short term, I have no idea what it's gonna do. I appreciate the love. You might see a squeeze with silver pretty soon. Yeah, I think that's possible for sure as well. We'll see. Bullish or bearish? I don't know, man. Nasdaq's fallen down here on this Empire State data. That data kind of scared markets, it looks like here. How to trading stock, bro? Chat. How to trading stock, bro. Top 3 greatest questions, I think, today. Market's starting to look weak. Yeah, the Empire State manufacturing data is down. Let's see what happens. Gold, top of the range, but I don't know gold. When everybody buys, you sell. When everyone sells, you buy. This is a rephrase of it's better to be fearful when others are greedy, greedy when others are fearful. Who said that? Was it Buffett? I think Buffett said that, right? I just don't, it's not that I'm being mean. I just don't know how to answer that. How does trade, number one, even if he said, how do you trade stocks? That's a pretty vague question. Do you mean like literally how do you do it? Or do you mean how do you make money doing it, you know? I need more specifics, sir. Well, I would say the way to trade stocks, and I'm going to preface this with I am not an investment professional. Oracle's still pushing up. Look, I'm not being mean. I'll answer the question. In my opinion, the way you trade stocks, there's two ways. There's two ways to make, like, for me, I have two ways that I have an edge trading stocks. And I'll give you the explanation of both of them. The first one is just invest long-term, dollar cost average long-term into healthy blue chip companies or index funds, mutual funds, whatever you want to do, right? Average into those long periods of time. And over a long periods of time, you should make money in those things because, you know, most of the time the stock market moves up. S&P, NASDAQ average 8 to 10% a year, including crashes. And if you DCA on pullbacks, you'll probably do really, really well long term. It's better to just buy index funds versus individual stocks, especially if you're new. But if you dollar cost average into index funds long term, you're probably going to make a lot of money. You know, as long as you sit on them indefinitely. You don't sell every time they go up big. You don't drop every time they go big, or you don't sell every time they drop, or sell every time they go up. You just sit on them long term. And when I say long term, I mean like 20 plus years. And you are almost guaranteed to make money in that period of time. The other way I make money in stocks is I swing trade them. So I look for companies, and again, I'm prefacing this both with the answer I just gave as well as this one. I am not an investment professional. I have no idea what's going to happen. Markets might do anything completely different to what I'm saying. The other way I make money is I look for healthy blue chip companies, healthy companies, that have very, very, very large pullbacks in short periods of time on overreactions to news or catalysts. An example of this is United Health. Not that long ago, I bought UNH. All right, so the president actually spoke. He said, too late, must cut interest rates now, and bigger than he had in mind. Housing will soar, according to the president. Bessent says there's a framework for the TikTok deal. That's what's dragging Oracle up. The other way is to buy really extended companies on the downside. An example of this is UNH. I bought this one at like 240s. It's now at 350s. But I didn't say, I sold at like 305, 310. I can't remember where, but I sold right here. But yeah, this thing had gotten demolished. It was at $600 in April. It was at 230s when I started looking at it. I bought it at 240. And this is a company with a low PE ratio. I love you. Good day. This is a company with a low PE ratio, pretty good numbers for margins, pretty good historical trends for revenue. And overall, it was just very probable that this thing was going to bounce back, right? And so what I do is I sit around and I wait for companies to show weak signs, big pullbacks, overreactions is what I look for. And then I buy the dip and sit on it for a few weeks and then I sell it. That's done me really, really well. All right, dude. Love you, bud. Have a good day, buddy. Hey, love you, man. All right, have a good day, dude. All right. All right, sorry. And yeah, then those are the two ways I make money. But again, I can't, and I'm green on the year doing that. I'm green last year doing that in my swing trading account. And so, pretty simple. Am I always gonna be perfect? No, but yeah, that's what I do. Let's see if this has affected yields, this quote by Powell. And again, you guys saw me do this like a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago, I bought, let's just talk about the stocks that I bought real quick. I bought HIMS. I bought HIMS at 41. It's now at $55 a share. Remember, I bought HIMS. People told me not to buy it. They told me it was a bad company. They told me all this different stuff. Remember, I bought HIMS at 41 when I said this. 41, just to put this into perspective, is here. You know? We did that with HIMS. What else did we do this with? And you guys saw me do this live, so it's not like I can fake this, right? We bought HIMS. We bought Marvel not that long ago. Remember? We bought this one like last week. I think it was last week. I don't know when it was we bought this. But again, we bought Marvel at 62. We literally bought Marvel at 62. Our average price is 62. We bought it right there. We've unloaded most of that position. Well, we bought PayPal. And we had like a decent amount of PayPal shares. And we ended up selling on the rip. And PayPal ended up coming back down. But we ended up selling it up here for PayPal. And so we ended up getting most of it out. So we're net green on that position as well. We bought Target. Target's the only one where I'm not really... I can't tell if I'm green. I had a much larger position and I sold. And now we're down like a very small amount on the remaining position, but we're essentially flat. And so that's the only one where it's kind of like up there. We also did this with Apple and Amazon, and we made money doing that as well. On both Apple and Amazon. And so when you do it correctly, as long as you have good risk parameters, I think it can be really profitable. But everybody's not going to be able to do it. Yeah. He's not mad about Lucidus games anymore? No, not really. He'll be alright. Bought Robinhood about 828, sold it for like 24 this year. Yeah, that's still hundreds of percent though. Like, people like to use hindsight trading and, you know, like, look, one of the things is like when I buy these stocks, this is not me long-term investing into it. Some of it is, but a lot of it isn't. A lot of this is just getting in and getting out at opportune times. You're going to miss some moves with this. It's not a reasonable expectation not to miss some of these moves. Of course, you're going to miss. Some of these stocks are going to be really strong long-term. And so if you sit on them, you're going to make much more money. But that's not really what the strategy's about. You know, it's just not really what the strategy's about. Do we pump on rate cuts or sell the news? I don't think it's really easy to tell. A lot of people think we're going to sell off. Depends on how much. But it could also make markets rip to all-time highs. You know, the president's pushing for larger cuts. He says real estate's going to pump if we do. And that's all good and fine. You know, I'm torn somewhere in the middle here with rates. Like, either way is not the end of the world. Like, if you own real estate, you know, you can claim depreciation a certain percentage every year. It's usually the land price. It's usually the improvement price, which is the house price subtracted by the land price. And then you can calculate a specific percentage of a depreciation from the real estate. Ask your tax professional. I'm certainly not one. And the more expensive the home, the more you can claim in depreciation from it. And so if house prices go up, it's not the end of the world. But if they decrease, you ultimately have to pay less taxes on it as well. And so, and this is, yeah. Depends on the cut. I think we're going to cut 25. And I think we might see that number get baked into the markets here. But I think we're going to cut 25. Yeah, 25 basis point cut's not going to really influence things. Depends on if we end Q2. We also have the dot plot this FOMC meeting. So we got the dot plot, which is updated summary of economic projections. also coming out, and so I think that's relevant. We're gonna look for that. It's gonna be economic projections from this FOMC meeting, which are gonna mean a lot. The cut will be 50. Trust me, bro. I think you're wrong. But if you're right, I'll eat my words. But I think you're wrong. How much will the cut be on Wednesday? Trust me, bro. It's got to be accurate. You know. I added the bro at the end of it. He just said, "Trust me." I think the bro really solidified it. All right, Nasdaq pushing up. We're at 163s here. Again, the president said earlier, too late, must cut interest rates now and bigger than he had in mind. Housing will soar, according to the president. Do you guys agree with him here? I expect a 50 cut, if not higher. Maybe. Explain how a 50 basis point cut would affect markets in your opinion. I think if we cut 50, we might actually get negative reactions from markets. I think it's gonna, with 25 basis point cut being so baked in here, and you can see what's baked in based off of the CME watch tool. Right, but I think with 50 being so baked into markets, 96.5% odds right now of a 50 or a 25 basis point cut. I think with a 25 basis point cut being so baked in here, it's very unlikely that we do this right here. We don't have any big data that might sway these odds, and so I think if we do anything outside of these odds, I think if we pause, market's definitely going down, and I think if we cut 50, it might show panic signs. But you never know how the market's going to respond. You don't want to induce panic. It's a balancing act here, and because of that, I think they're going to do 25. And I think that's what the market thinks as well, but anything could happen. But that's my guess. Like they don't want to induce panic, I guess is the point here. Yeah, Powell, the last FOMC meeting, basically said we're lucky he doesn't raise rates. You know? Yeah, Powell basically said we're lucky he doesn't raise. I don't know. Nvidia is moving now. Look at Apple rip up over high. So Apple is honestly what's dragging the markets up now that I'm looking at it. Bessent says tariffs on Chinese imports of Russian oil was mentioned, but not the centerpiece of talks. He said that they are respecting Fed's quiet period with regards to Fed chair interviews. Bessent says Chinese Nvidia investigation announcement is poor timing. It's intentional timing is what it is. Bessent says we have the framework on the TikTok deal. U.S. Trade Representative Greer says we have great and deep respect for each other. Yeah, I mean, listen, guys. The China news regarding Nvidia was intentional timing. Don't get it twisted. Like, listen, we're rivals with them. They don't want our chip market to do better than them. And so what are they going to do? They're going to strategically put out things like they did this morning, intentionally trying to create fear. And this is very obvious, I think. This is not even... I don't even think this is super controversial. I think this is very obvious. As we do with them. You know what I mean? And so I think it's somewhere in the middle. But Also, regarding the Bessent saying they are respecting the Fed quiet period with regards to Fed chair interviews. Yeah. Water's wet, dude. Yeah. All right, so Apple coming down a little bit here. Nasdaq still pushing up. Nvidia's starting to rise too. Look at this. So Nvidia's rising up. Here's the high of the day now at 172.50. We're watching it. Yeah, Elon bought $1 billion of Tesla shares. Yeah, I saw that. Tesla's up big too. Up to force. Gold spiking up higher here. Where are you gonna start shorting? Shorting what? Water's wet is a saying. I'm not going to argue with you guys about the nuances of and properties of water. Okay? Water's wet just means you're saying something obvious, which you guys already know. Will Tesla hold its gains this morning, guys? You all think Tesla holds after Elon buys $1 billion worth of Tesla shares? Right, it's raising optimism in Tesla because if the CEO is buying more shares, it means they have more optimism in the company. Look, don't get mad at me for that saying. Get mad at whoever created the saying, alright? It's not like I invented the saying, water's wet, okay? %, invested by land. What's your opinion, 50 or 25? Are you asking me my opinion on what we should do, or are you asking me about my opinion on what we are going to do? What we're going to do is pretty simple. We're probably going to cut 25 basis points. I don't think that's a really controversial take. What we should do? Personally, I think we should end quantitative tightening on mortgage-backed securities and probably treasuries at this point, as well as cut rates 25 basis points. I think we should end QT and cut 25. I don't think we should cut 50. I think there's too many risks. But gold will go to 10K plus. I don't know about 10. Nasdaq just broke highs of the day. Nvidia is pushing up. This is driving it. Tesla is up after Elon bought $1 billion worth of Tesla shares. Alright, there's 8 a.m., 9 a.m. markets. Yeah, he's balanced. He's not going to go crazy. Yeah, for sure, Doug. I agree. Oh. All right. Nasdaq right at the highs of the day here. Nvidia is still rebounding pretty significantly up to almost 176 here. And again, Nvidia is bouncing back because of the news regarding the president in China. He said the talks went well. He's going to meet with the Chinese President Xi at the end of this week on Friday. TT deals doing okay. All of that's creating optimism after Nvidia dropped this morning on, and there's the Nasdaq breaking highs. Nvidia dropped this morning on news of China spokespeople said that they accused Nvidia of anti-competitive practices. CoreWeave and Nvidia entered into a new order form under existing master services agreement. So I see this just dropped. CoreWeave, Nvidia. HUBC looks like a really, really terrible penny stock that gets pumped up and dumped pretty regularly. Powell say data dependent. That is, yeah. I mean, listen. So every once a quarter, so every 2 meetings, and the Nasdaq is up, but every 2 meetings the Fed does what's called the every 2 weeks the Fed does what's called the dot plot and economic summary of projections. Okay, where they give economic projections. That is Wednesday as well. So we're gonna get an updated dot plot and summary of economic projections on Wednesday here. That is probably gonna move markets as well. Outside, we're probably cutting 25. But what we project regarding the economy and inflation and all this stuff is going to matter on Wednesday. And that's what's happening on Wednesday. So just be ready for that during this FOMC. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some news, William. But I don't like cheap penny stocks that go up and down big numbers. I think they're incredibly risky. Most people chase them. You know, you got to understand, when you get stocks this cheap, like HUBC, okay, they're going to have all this quote-unquote breaking great news for companies like this, right? Like, they're going to have all this great, amazing news. The problem is that it's hard to vet these news releases because these companies are so small. They put out a lot of nonsense puff pieces, I guess is the easiest way to describe it. And these puff pieces are meant to pump them up so that sometimes executives within the company can unload on rookie retail traders. I'm not saying that's what's going on here, but you got to understand the articles and the news that you see for these penny stocks is different and less vetted than the news you see from the big boy companies like Nvidia or Apple or Amazon. It's just less vetted. And so there's a lot of confirmation bias in these penny stocks. Everybody thinks they're going to be rich trading them. They're patting each other on the back. They're pushing people to buy it. And the reality of it is, like, again, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Amazon doesn't need to talk people into buying its stock, right? People recognize the validity and the value of Amazon, and so they buy the stock without Amazon having to say a freaking word to them. And so if you find companies that are small like this, that are really pushing people to buy, they're really trying to sell people on buying their stock, it can be a red flag. And so because of that, I'm not buying it. Maybe it goes up. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this thing rips up huge percentages. I don't know. It's just not something that I feel comfortable with messing with. Oh, we do have triple witching week. Whoa. I was playing with those little cauliflower ear magnets that I've kind of used them kind of like poker chips, where I just kind of play with them like a fidgety thing. And I dropped them and I heard them stick to something over here. I don't know where it went. I got like computers and all kind of stuff over here. Hopefully they didn't stick to the computer. Who knows if I'll ever find them. The Christmas music. Triple Witching Day is a day of historical volatility in which all major contract types expire same day. This includes index options, index futures, and single stock options. It used to be single stock futures as well, but we have no such thing as single stock futures anymore. And so it's triple witching. It used to be quad witching. We call it quad witching anyway. Hey, what's up, Mike? Or are you Mike, like Euro Trip? Or you could be pretending to be Mike, like Euro Trip. Does Tesla keep going or does it go down? I don't know. But you're Swedish. I think the girl from Euro Trip was German. Helios Medical Technologies enter into a $93 million sales agreement with Clear Street and Maxim Group. HSDT is the symbol. Nobody understood the Euro Trip reference I'm trying to make here. It's okay. Culture yourselves, guys. That's all I'm saying. Tesla will be overbought. Yeah, I'm not. Look, I like Tesla long term, short term. I have no idea what it's going to do. And it's up a lot this morning already. So, not really my favorite time to buy it personally, but we'll see. Bro, how have y'all not seen Euro Trip, dude? Come on now. It's one of the greatest movies ever. Chat doesn't know. Yeah, maybe it's just a dad joke and it's not funny. That's probably pretty, plausible here. Yeah, I honestly, best cameo for Matt Damon ever. Oh yeah, it's the girl from the sister from that movie was the girl from Harriet the Spy. Now I'm really old by saying that. But yeah, that's what it was. Rest in peace. It was like Michelle something. Michelle, I think she had a German last name. Alright guys, Tesla at 427s, Nvidia 175s, gold still sideways. Everything's been sideways for the last 10 minutes here. We got 20 minutes into the open. We'll see if we get anything good. Yeah, that's right, Pew. Sounds right. Yeah, I'm trying not to laugh too much at y'all's references here. I try to keep it market centered here, but sometimes I stray from that and talk about movies or jujitsu or whatever. Yeah, 20 minutes. You guys red or green today? I'm green. I had one trade. I shorted gold at the top of the range up here, covered down here, got out, and now it's back up some. I've never had a Tesla. Are they good cars? I've heard very mixed reviews of them. Some people are like they're the greatest cars ever. And then other people are like they're terrible, poorly made, like all this different stuff. I don't really know. I've never driven in one or been in one, to be honest. I see a lot of them in the street. But I don't know how well made they are. I've never really seen one like that. Yeah, I mean, when does earnings season start again? You can always kind of tell when bank earnings start. That's when earnings season starts back up. Mid-October, so we still got a month until earnings season's back here. Yeah, it was mentioned, JG. All right, NASDAQ broke highs, has been sideways trending for like 5 minutes now. See what happens. Warranty service and them standing behind their car is not good. All right, guys, listen, I gotta go run and do something real quick. I'm gonna give myself a minute to get back. If it takes me longer than a minute to get back, y'all can only, I can only respond to dummy for the rest of the day here. All right. You guys ready? I'm gonna give myself a minute. It's actually not a bathroom break. I gotta go do something else. I just thought about it. But I got 1 minute to get back. It's not a bathroom break, I'm telling you. I'd be honest if it was a bathroom break. It's just not. If it was a bathroom break for that, I'd give myself much longer than a minute. But 1 minute, that's the game. Let me stand up for this. All right, ready? All right. Weird. Okay, so we basically had to reset our computer. I don't know what happened there. I had to basically unplug my computer and plug it back in. My whole computer just froze. Very strange. We're here though. I'm gonna get everything set up. NASDAQ hasn't really done anything since I left, so that's good, I guess. Very strange though, dude. My whole computer just boom. It could be the Magnus, bro. Maybe it is the Magnus, dude. I really don't know. It was very odd, very strange. I dropped those magnets early, bro. Maybe that was the problem. Honestly, Windows forced an update. Maybe it's freaking Windows. It's stupid stuff. I don't know. Here, give me a second. What? Oh. Yeah, somehow we're back. Freaking Windows, bro. Maybe I had too much stuff up. I don't think I did though, dude. I didn't really have that many stuff up. Not as much as I sometimes do here. I blame the Windows update is what I blame here. Alright, so we're gonna be day trading the opening bell. Let's do this. Let me get my TOS windows back up. Hey, we're back, dude. We don't have as many as we did. We still got 700 plus people here. Appreciate you guys joining the stream here. Let me set all this nonsense back up now. Honestly, the NASDAQ has gone nowhere since the stream cut. So. Green. Empire State manufacturing data came out week earlier this morning. We got gold pushing up recently here. There's gold. Still pushing up higher into the opening bell. There we go. We're back. Hey, I appreciate it. Yeah. Let's get the music going here. I got you guys. Hold on. The whole computer just froze, and then I heard the fans kick on, dude. Bro, with how expensive this computer was, unacceptable. Unacceptable. All right, so Secretary of State, or no, Tyson Food intends to stop using high fructose corn syrup and other ingredients within its branded products. 9 minutes left. I could blame them, Pew, I guess. Yeah, I hate Windows 11, I really do. Yeah, but we have a pretty good graphics card in here, dude, or graphics stuff. We're not really running at anything super major for the GPU either. Let me check where it's running at. Hold on. In memory, we're running less than 50%. Our CPU, we're running at 7%. GPU's running at about 5% right now, it looks like. 4%. Or actually, no, the GPU's running, and the in-use GPU amount is 13 gigs out of 18 available, so it's running over 60%, which is good. But I'm not the biggest hardware nerd. Yeah, I might want to, like, get some extra fans I put up in here. I mean, this never happens. This happened once. This is the only time my stream has cut in, like, years, realistically. I appreciate the donation, though. I have a 570 Ti and it gets hot. I have 9 case fans. Still get hit 60. Yeah. Yeah, I've got an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 Super. So mine's not quite as new as yours, but... yeah, my GPU is currently 45 degrees Celsius, but it's probably because I restarted. All right, guys, so we're testing highs, but we're kind of coming back down. Gold's been pushing up. We got 5 minutes until the opening bell. We don't have any other data coming out today that's going to influence markets. The New York Empire State data was the last one. Opening bells here. We got 4 minutes left. Yeah, I saw that. So NVIDIA's 2 unidentified top customers accounted for 39%. Carisdale Capital says they're short on CoreWeave CRWV. $60 is acceptable, you mean in terms of hold on, I'm looking at this now. Today I turned profitable. Good luck, X. Alright guys, here we go. We got the opening bell coming soon in about 2.5 minutes. Sorry, my stream died earlier, but we're back. Now I know for next time, bro, I just gotta hurry up and restart my computer. I kind of sat here with it frozen, hoping it would unfreeze, when I should have just restarted the computer, because it didn't even change streams. It kept you guys here on the stream, which is good. And so next time I know if it cuts, just quickly restart the stream. All right, guys, we got 2 minutes left. 2 minutes. Nasdaq spiking up here. Look at this. I always follow your pre-market stream. Hey, thank you, man. Good luck, dude. Remember, I'm not an investment professional. Half the time I have no idea what I'm talking about. Might be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. Do not copy me. It's the Fed week this week, guys. It's the Fed week this week. Let's see what we get. Again, we got the dot plot, that summary of economic projections. Don't you do it. All right, guys, we got 45 seconds left. You're not going to be able to copy my trades, bro. I'm just saying, don't do it. Look, understand all this stuff on screen. I can't guarantee anything. I'm not an investment professional. Don't copy me. I'm not liable if you do. No idea what I'm talking about. Top 3 worst ever half the time. 75% of the time, I'm right every time. 50% of the time, I'm wrong every time. Okay? Don't copy me. Joking. Sarcasm. Don't copy me. Don't do it. All right, guys, we got 10 seconds. Yeah, we're going to cut on Wednesday, I think. If we don't cut, the market's going to go down. All right, here's the bell, guys. Good luck. All right, so Amazon's pushing up. NVIDIA's up a little bit since the bell, but we are breaking highs. Where's the all-time highs on the NASDAQ here? Let me make sure. Oh, wait, we're breaking all-time highs now? Hold on, let me make sure. Yeah, we're breaking all-time highs on the NQ this morning. All-time highs are 24,436. Oh, actually, no, we're not at all-time highs. Why does the NASDAQ say that? Why is the price so different here? On TOS, I'm showing the NASDAQ is up to 24,437. On TopStep X, I'm showing 24,189. Hold on. Refresh this. Why such a big price discrepancy? Which one's wrong? Toss or... Oh well. Why such the big price discrepancy? Oh, wait. It's the monthly change. You're actually right. You're correct here. Hold on. That's why. Okay. They haven't switched out the monthly change yet, which they'll probably do later in the week. It's the rollover. That's correct. Okay. But if you roll over, NASDAQ's at all-time highs. NVIDIA went up some. It went up to about 176.60. It's now pulling back a little bit. NASDAQ's flying up, breaking all-time highs here. The problem if NVIDIA starts to correct is what I'm worried about here. I might short this. It's a little early to short, but we'll try one. I know it's kind of risky. We're green on the day, though, so we got a little cushion. I want to see if NVIDIA starts to turn down. We can get into the green. A little bit of green. Well... we got 2 contracts here, so it's pretty small. We're about flat on the day. I just want to see if NVIDIA turns the other way. It might not. I'm gonna get out of 1 right there just to protect it. It's taking a little bit too long. Still green on the day right now. It's a risky short 3 minutes into the day, but I think NVIDIA might keep going down. Okay, gotta change the Christmas music still. Or no matter where I look, it's Christmas music, bro. I'm trying, guys, I'm trying. There we go. That's better. NVIDIA breaking down here. I'm gonna add to this. There we go. I'm gonna take out half right there. I could have held those 2 positions and been more green. All right, we're out. We're net green on the trade, I think, which is good. We were correct about NVIDIA turning. This is NVIDIA dropping down to the down here. I'm gonna short this bounce, I think, too. Add a little bit to it, unless we get bought all the way back up. Doesn't know what it wants to do here. We're gonna have to cut it now. Now we're... Wait, where were we? We have 3 contracts? Oh, we only had 2. And I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna trade a different account. I'm gonna trade this. We're at all-time highs again. Depends on if NVIDIA starts trending weak here. But you never know, but... we're so close to all-time highs, I don't want to get too overzealous shorting. So I gotta just wait. Amazon's pushing up. Tech outside of microchips is ripping up right now. I don't know what my dogs are barking at. Yeah, Google's up. We're too close to all-time highs for me to feel comfortable continuing to short. Google up to 250 right now. There's a big drop to the downside here. Got a little flag looking pattern here, but who knows what we're gonna do. Got to at all-time highs, which is a risky spot. Gold's still pushing up though. Now it's like, do buyers step in up here at all-time highs? Nvidia's starting to bounce back up, and Google's still ripping up, so there's some strength showing up here. Question is, do we get choppiness ahead of this? Gold is flying up right now on indecision. Here's the market making a big move. All the way to the upside here. Big moves. Nvidia looks like it's fighting its way back too. I think there's a kind of a question mark there regarding what Nvidia does with the news. This is Google mostly ripping up. Let's see if there's a reason. Hold on, let me see. Chinese delegation is going to hold a post-U.S. trade talks conference. ECB's kosher says risks are now more equally balanced. Unclear if trade risks are deflationary or inflationary. All right, so again, the Chinese delegation is going to hold post-U.S. trade talks press conference in Madrid at 16 BST. I think that's maybe giving optimism, although Amazon is starting to come back down. Gold is still flying higher, though, here. ECB's kosher says there are risks now more equally balanced. Unclear if trade risks are deflationary or inflationary. I think I covered that already, actually. All right, look at Nvidia. So we're starting to see some strength now, which is interesting. Gold's flying higher here. Gold's close to all-time highs. Gold all-time highs are 37.15. We're very close to that now. Gold's kind of pushing up with the rest of the market. United Health's down pretty big. Where's Tesla at? Tesla coming down too. Okay. Gold's flying up on uncertainty right now, though. Nasdaq consistently breaking all-time highs. It's very close to it now. We kind of slowed down our trading. Yeah, I exited my gold short way earlier this morning in pre-market. Very nicely in the green. That's just a day trade. I'm not going to hold it through the opening bell. Nice. We got a little pullback in gold here. Gold gonna make another push towards all-time highs is the question. What I'm wondering here for gold. Gold's very close to all-time highs. It's getting close. Looking at other breaking news here. Again, we got the China news that they're going to host a post-meeting conference. See if gold continues to fly back up. It's testing 3,700s now. The Nasdaq continues to go down, so it depends on whether the gold is following the NQ here, I would say. The gold's still pushing. All right, guys, so I don't know what's going on with my computer. This is the second time it's done this today. And it's weird. Very strange. Yeah. I think I'm just going to close it down for the day. We're about the end of the stream. I'll figure this out. I'll figure this out. But yeah, very strange. Any recommendations before I close it down? I don't think it's the magnets. Let me know. Is the audio bad? Let me know. Yeah, I'll have to check the logs and see what's going on. Yeah. Again, I'm gonna get out of here. I don't know what's going on. I'll figure it out before tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we got retail sales data, guys. My Ethernet, I got like 1,300 megabits per second. So if I do a speed test here, it might make the stream lag. Give me a second, but look. Yeah. Yeah, we're good. We're back here, but again, my computer keeps crashing, which is weird. It could be the magnets, bro. I gotta figure out where they went, dude. I don't know where they went. They clicked onto something. I heard them. But I'll find it and figure it out. Yeah, my speed is fine. It's not my internet at all. This is what we're running right now. We got 2 ping. We're running 1,200 megabits, almost 1,200 upload as well. So this is definitely not my internet. This seems more GPU related. I'm gonna clean out my computer and then run some stuff, test stream, see what happens. But yeah. Yeah, my computer did an update over the weekend, and I'm worried that for whatever they're doing there messed with it. So yeah, anyways, it's almost 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 a.m. I'm going to cut out of here. Again, check out Top Step. You want to help support the channel, I appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow. We got retail sales data going live tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So be ready. I'll see you guys then. Good luck. Have a great day. Sorry about the stream. We'll figure it out overnight and fix it. So I'll see you guys later.